Now, speaking of changes afoot, I mean, so many things in our country seem to be changing so rapidly, and not just things like temporary mask orders, but literally the fabric of our civic society is being ripped apart. Our institutions are being changed. Our values are being changed, whether we like it or not. And one of the institutions that we see that's being changed potentially, and this has never happened before, but last week the Congress, so just the House of Representatives, not the Senate yet, but the House of Representatives voted, passed a bill, and they said, now, of course, it's got to be passed by the Senate also, and then it had to be signed by the president. So understand what we're saying here. But they passed legislation to make Washington, D.C. a state. I mean, you talk about a change. I mean, there's some reason, right, that Washington, D.C., the federal district, was set up not to be a state, right? I mean, was there any reason behind any of the structure of our country or the Constitution, or was it all just kind of like words thrown onto a page just because, hey, we needed something, we got to add something in writing, so we just threw it together? There was no plan behind it. There's no reason for it, right? Mm-hmm. But here we are without any good reason. We're saying, hey, you know what? Let's just change that. Let's just change that. It's kind of like when they changed the vote for senators to be a popular vote within the state when, senators originally were elected by the state legislatures, not by the citizens directly. And they said, well, that's not right. That's not democracy. Whatever it was they said, and they got people to make that change. And that's been a significant change that has impacted the structure of government, the separation of powers, the reason that these things were set up the way that they were, to have these sort of counterbalanced interests in government that kind of fight against each other, essentially to keep the government from being able to do too much because there are counterbalanced interests fighting against each other over these issues. When I say fighting, I don't mean actual fighting. I just mean, competing with each other for the exercise of the power. And this was important. And we've heard this over the last, 6 or 7 years over the debate about the Electoral College, right? Or the direct election. Oh, why should we have the Electoral College? It's not right. It's not democracy. Well, there's a lot of good reasons behind it. We don't have enough time left in this show to tell you that, all the reasons. But trust me, the Electoral College isn't just words thrown onto a page. They didn't just cut and paste that off the internet because somebody else had an Electoral College and we just figured, makes sense, what the heck, let's just throw it in there. And the same thing, D.C. was not set up as an actual state for a very good reason. It's the seat of the federal government. Now, the Democrats want to make it a state. Can you imagine why that might be? I mean, can you even come up with that, right? Why might that be? How close is the Senate, right? You add a state, you're going to add more people to the House of Representatives, and D.C., by the way, votes like 90% or better for Democrats. So you're guaranteed you're going to add representatives for the Democrats, but more importantly, you're going to add 2 new U.S. senators, and you're guaranteed they're going to be Democrats. That's the whole reason they're doing that. I'm Morgan Streetman, and that's the way I see it. Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.